Hi everyone, welcome to Our Focus is You. My name is Tina Paulus-Kraus.
And hello, I'm Ken Collins. Welcome back.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited about today. We have a few things that we want to talk about today. We want to talk about why the combination. How did Ken and I meet and where we're going and all that good stuff. And then we want to talk about, as we kind of move forward with our programming, what are the benefits to you? What are the people that are watching this show going to get out of the show moving forward? And then we want to talk about kind of some of the programming and some of the topics that we have coming up. So we have a good show planned for you today and very excited to kind of kick it off. So the first one, why the combination, Ken? That's kind of a funny story. How Ken and I, we met just recently, which is really odd. It's one of those things where you meet somebody and you feel like you've known them for for your whole life kind of thing. But we met through a mutual friend, Angela, a girl who we both know who introduced us to each other, and was at a celebration party, and we started talking, and it was really weird. We just kind of felt like we had known each other forever, and you started talking about your Results4you stuff, and I started talking about the stuff I've got going for TrueYou, and it just kind of blossomed from there, and we've had a lot of things that have happened since then, and here we are with this show, so it's kind of exciting.
Yeah,
right?
it's weird. It is kind of awkward, but you know what? There is something to that if you think about that. Like-minded people, it amazes me,
Right.
always tend to find each other. And so when you and I were introduced by Angela, I think it was an hour later we finally noticed other people were in the room.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just funny how that works.
And so, as we move forward here talking about your environment and how you select that environment and things like that, we naturally gravitate to like-minded people. And so you know it when it happens.
Right.
It's just always a cool reminder. And again, like I said, just amazing how that happens. But that actually jump-started our relationship.
It did.
To where we really got to know each other through mastermind.
Through your mastermind, yeah. We're doing a Maxwell mastermind, and we got into it, and it was a 6-week kind of a course, and it's really cool because in the masterminds, and that's not really something a lot of people I don't think know about, but there's masterminds kind of popping up all over the place, and really what the purpose of the masterminds is to just get a group of like-minded individuals together and let's grow together. Let's talk about a specific topic, and kind of like a bigger and better thing than a book club is kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, the mastermind group study, the book was that we chose for the 6 weeks was the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth.
Right.
And as you go through a mastermind book reading session, the book is kind of the tea for everything, but the rest of it is how do we take the concepts we're reading and how do we apply it to our personal lives? And then it's the interaction and trust level to reveal yourself and share with others, and then others kind of contribute, and now you've got this social makeup that you're all helping each other. And that's where I really, based on listening to your story and applying the concepts, how some more light bulbs went off that, oh, wow, there are a lot of similarities here on not only how we kind of experience life, because we all have challenges and setbacks. They're inevitable.
Right.
Yeah. Just like every day, there's always a curveball.
Yeah.
Not what you think when you wake up in the morning.
That's
And
how you deal with them, right?
Yep, exactly. They call that resilience,
Right.
I think. But yeah, as we went through that process and I got a deeper understanding of what was important to us, what shaped us, and what we're very passionate about, Tina became very intriguing each week when we would get into dialogue because we'd meet for lunch in between just to kind of share what's going on with our businesses. We did the same thing. We would get lost.
Right. You know what I think is what's been the most interesting about all of it is that even that first hour that we were talking, as I listened to your story and as you would listen to my story, what we both picked up was that it was the same, but it was very different. And so that was really cool. It's been cool to kind of watch that progress as time goes on because you had kind of your focus on where you wanted to go with helping people, and I had my focus and kind of where I wanted to go with helping to get people and really help them to understand that this is a self-development thing and that it starts with them and stuff like that. And the words that you would use meant the same thing, but you were saying different words. And so it was really interesting to kind of play off of that because in a lot of the stuff that I've done, it's very focused at women. And I've had guys that have actually said, well, why are you just talking to women? And the first time it happened, it kind of stopped me in my tracks. And it's because that's what I know. That's who I am. It's what I know. And so that's kind of who I would target. But I've had guys say, well, why not guys? I mean, we deal with the same stuff too. And in talking with you and getting to know you, we've just seen that over and over again. So I think the cool thing about teaming up together is that we can help everybody, right? We can really put programs together and put content and information and discussions and all that kind of stuff together where we can help everybody.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's very similar threads in values and what we believe in. However, you mentioned, it's different languages. And I've shared this with Tina before, but my analogy was, if some of you recall the old Reese's Peanut Butter Cup commercials, where a person's walking down the street eating a chocolate candy bar, and another person's coming the opposite direction, scooping out of a jar of peanut butter, and they aren't looking where they're going. They collide into each other, and a piece of candy bar falls.
Right.
And that's how Reese's Peanut Butter Cups evolved, where it was two different entities, but when you put them together, you got something very, very dynamic. Right. And as Tina and I learned to understand the broad views and perspectives and the dynamic nature of what we could bring putting chocolate and peanut butter together, we had this opportunity surface, Focus is You, and so we think we can bring great value to the audience there.
Absolutely. And I think value to all kinds of different kinds of people, right? The diversity that goes into it is really big and really excites me as to where we're going with this. So
yeah, so when you mix the two together, we talked about common threads and similarities, but different languages. So I think it would be fair to share with you what are the common threads. A couple of them come to mind. We're very passionate and people focused.
Right. And so I think that when you're talking about the like-mindedness, right? Right. So yeah, the like-mindedness is, when you enter into a conversation with somebody and you get that negative energy right away, not a like-minded person, right? So it's about high energy and positive energy and understanding what you own and being very self-aware. And I think that those are some of the other things that we found too.
Yeah, and I also believe that we are genuinely interested in helping others, and we talked a little bit about this with our stories in the previous episode. But that is really, really genuine. And I think today too, as Tina and I have talked, is we bring energy and optimism to things, and not only that we're saying that, but that's the feedback we get from people. And so I think that's something, a void we can fill too as you join us along this journey, is that, you don't have to look far to go to the evening news or national news. And the first 15 minutes is about what's all going wrong. And shaping perceptions that everything's broken and all that. And I think it's fair to carve out time to think about what's going well and prioritize that first.
I agree.
Rather than what's not going well.
I agree. I think what happens is, life is so busy today, right? So we're in this rat race of life trying to, do everything and make everybody happy and build your life and everything else. And at the end of the day, we're spent and we're tired. And when we do that day in and day out, it takes a toll on our health and it takes a toll on our life. And for me, I woke up one day and realized that my life was like not what I wanted it to be, and it wasn't what I always had thought it would be, and it was kind of this light bulb of stop blaming everybody else for it. This is on you. And so I think when we talk about some of the common threads, that very first common thread of the like-mindedness is understanding that you own what you own, and if you want to make a change in your life, then it's up to you, and you have to be the one to be the CEO of your own life and make that change.
No, and Tina, as we think about energy in our environments and what gives us energy, what takes away energy.
Right. Energy vampires.
Yeah, yeah, that's better than what I kind of use for a concept there. But yeah, so I think when we get energy, it's also when we know we can give back to others.
Right.
And that provides juice to refuel us to want to do more. And what was really special to both of us, I know too, is giving back to others, but giving back to the community here at Sun Prairie and the local communities by being able to share our stories and our knowledge and experiences in a format that maybe helps you become the best you can be.
Right. And there's just not, there's not a lot of places out there where people can go to do that. And when we can do that right here in our local community and really help people right here, right now, where we are and where we live, that's really special to me, and I'm really excited about that as we move forward.
Yeah, Tina, and although we don't have the title of leader or leadership, leadership is really influence, nothing more, nothing less. Yeah. And so I believe too, based on what we become to know about each other, we're natural leaders, not only at home and in our families, but also in our businesses. And
Right.
so our ability to have a platform here that Sun Prairie Media Center has been able to provide us to be able to influence and provide leadership in a sense is also something that's pretty cool to me, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah, definitely. I think that as we move forward and as we're able to kind of really just talk about the deep stuff and the content that goes with it, anybody who's listening in is really going to come to understand that there are tools out there that you can use to turn some of those negative habits around. So, your inner thoughts and telling yourself you're not worthy and that you're not ready for something, and the fear. It's just all about fear that holds us back from doing so many of the things that we want to do. It holds us back from being happy in general, and let's stop that. Let's create a platform where people can come and create a tribe and understand that it's safe to talk about these things, because I don't think in mainstream it's always safe to talk about these things. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
I align, for like-minded people, I align right there with you.
Right.
And so I would just echo the same comments, and I think you covered it beautifully. So that really is why the combination, and I hope that gives you some background into how did we put this together, and what gives them the credentials to maybe put on programs like this over the next several months.
Right.
You're also probably wondering, now that we have you at the edge of your seats, what are the benefits to the audience?
right.
What are the benefits to the audience? And I think basically it's a platform to have a fresh pair of eyes and different perspectives shed light on topics that are probably very similar and near and dear to all of us through a discussion format and sharing of tools and having guests. And so I think that's really the value, because sometimes, Tina, we can get kind of stuck in a rut or feel trapped, and that fresh pair of eyes can be the wedge that we've been looking for, a new way to take a look at things. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
No, totally. I think where I found that, because I completely agree, we feel alone a lot of the times, when we go through these things in our life and they're difficult times, and we feel alone, like we're the only ones going through this stuff. And at the end of the day, we all go through this stuff. And I think what really opened my eyes up is when I started to go to some of the retreats that I've gone to, and I started to surround myself with those like-minded people, and we started to have those discussions. You quickly realize that you're not alone, that we all work through these kinds of things. And in the past, what I would do is I wouldn't use my voice to talk. So I would let fear stop me from really moving forward, or joining a retreat, or going to a wellness program, or even just exercising, right? The simple thought of exercising. We all know it's good for us, but we don't do it. Why? Because there's probably other things in life that are more important to us. So we make decisions and prioritize and all that kind of stuff. But when I realized, I think, that there were forums and discussions and people talking about this kind of thing, it was amazing how much it helped me move forward in my own growth, because I knew I wasn't alone. And so it really helped, and I'm really excited to be able to bring that format to Sun Prairie and be able to help the citizens. All they got to do is tune in and just start being curious and start asking and finding out what they own in the situations and start turning it around. And it's an amazing journey and an amazing platform that happens when you do that.
Yeah, and in order to maximize our time together, for those of you who tune in and get intrigued pretty quickly, there's where that like-minded circle of influence starts to take hold. What's equally important is like-minded people basically have the same values and beliefs, but what makes us all better, stronger, and grow to our potential, whether it's personally and professionally, it's the varying perspectives people bring to the table. So you also really need to be able to maximize yourself, is to value the uniqueness others bring to the table and being able to put the other person's shoes on. And I think that's where chocolate and peanut butter come into play, and all those other things. We appreciate what the other has for perspectives.
And I think that that's the key. How often do people judge, right? I think it's our human nature to immediately judge. And when you stop judging and you open up to allow people to just be themselves and to not judge them before you get to know them or before you move forward with that, it just opens up your mind and you learn all kinds of new things. I mean, you have even though it's like-minded, it's a different perspective, and I've learned and I've grown from that. And so if I would have never met you, I would have never known that. And so if we would have had a 5-minute conversation, I would have never known that about you. But we both kind of opened up and we started talking and getting real, and we weren't trying to use ego or try to be better than one another. We were just two people talking and being open and honest with each other, and it builds trust. And I think that if we can just stop the judgment, you know, it allows people to come together and understand the unique perspectives that are out there.
Yeah, what's interesting to me on judgment, and boy, we could spend a whole program on that, and maybe we will.
We will, yeah.
Is that, you know, as children, we are learning machines. Mm-hmm. We are so curious and driven to gain independence, whether it's eating by ourselves for the first time, or that first crawl, or walk, or riding the bike. I mean, we are learning machines, just curious and let's go. And the reason that fades over time as we become adults is we base our viewpoints, opinions, and perceptions on past experiences.
Right.
So as a child, we don't have many past experiences, so we just go.
Yeah.
And so that's what part of the theme is here too, is let's reverse that judgment. Let's go back to that childlike mindset and be learning machines again, and just open up, embrace, and you use the word, be curious.
Right.
Because human potential is infinite. And so I think we all have the potential to be whatever we choose to be,
Yes.
as long as we keep those gremlins in check that tell us all the reasons why not, and we're not quick to judge, because I think you really put a set of blinders on when you judge, whether it's judging people, judging what's on the menu and a food you may not have had before,
Right.
or a movie you hadn't seen but heard things, and I can go on and
Right.
on there. But that judgment is really can be self-defeating.
Right. It can also be self-defeating when you're worried about the judgment of others, because that's what stops your fear. So, not only you judging somebody else, but you being worried that people are going to judge you, and not doing something maybe because you're worried about them judging you. And I think that as you move forward kind of and really work on some of those tools to stop judging people, it's amazing the relationships that you built and the deeper connections that you can make, because you're open and you're honest and you're being true with people. I call it, so again, different languages, right? I call it standing in your truth, like stand in your truth. If you don't want to judge somebody and you're working on trying not to judge somebody, and you've got those tools that you're working on, stand in it. Don't, just keep standing in it. And if you stand in it long enough, it becomes a habit at some point. And I think how I've done it over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years is one habit at a time. So one bad thing at a time. Okay, today I'm going to work on my negativity. Okay, today I'm going to work on my judgment. And so just really, really making a conscious decision to work on those things as you move forward.
Yeah. So a couple other things that would be beneficial to the audience is lifestyle satisfaction and leadership. And you might say, well, again, that's a title, but if you've ever been a parent, that's a leadership spot. If you've ever been part of church or your community, those are areas of influence. And so lifestyle satisfaction is very interesting to me. I'm also a part-time fitness trainer at Prairie Athletic Club, and so very in tune to health and fitness, especially as I build my career. I ran into some health issues, which
that's right.
I allowed to learn a lot of things that I'll share with you. But also, too, there's quest for balance. And I think balance gives off the perception of like a teeter-totter or a fulcrum, that it's even 50-50. And so people naturally get frustrated that they're not out of balance, that we don't have 50-50. Yeah. I'm not so sure that's the mindset, and that's why I don't use balance. I use satisfaction, because, well, people are different.
Right.
So the workaholic might think balance is 90-10. Or with technology today, is it realistic for 50-50? I mean, everything comes to right in our laps in the form of a cell phone today, when you used to have to go to the phone that was on the wall that you could only go as far as the cord and,
right.
and all those other things.
Right.
But technology really delivers data and information instantaneously 24/7. So
the good and the bad.
Yeah, is
right?
50-50 realistic? Or maybe, you know what, I'd like to get 70-30, I'd like to get to 60-40 and things like that. And I think that's a healthier approach to that. So
Right.
lifestyle is a big thing we think we can offer to our audience as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think with the lifestyle stuff, it's interesting because it's different. That percentage is different for everybody. It depends on what your goals are. It depends on what you're working for. It depends on how focused and disciplined you are. So it's different for everybody. It's not just about, a one size fits all. And maybe that's why some have, a little bit more of a struggle trying to kind of figure out why they're stuck or why they're in this negative pattern and have a tough time getting out of it. But lifestyle satisfaction includes, mind, body, and soul. So it's not only just about exercise, or it's not just about mind, and your inner thoughts, but it's about exercising and eating healthy and taking care of yourself and everything that goes with that.
Yeah, and for the record, this guy does yoga and meditation and have had for years.
Yes.
There are benefits to managing stress and also yoga with regard to recovery and stretching connective tissue, flexibility, especially as we get a little older, balance and all those other, the list goes on and on and on.
If you've tried yoga and you've not liked it, it's okay, try it again. I seriously tried it I do it regularly now. About 5 years ago, I tried it. One of my really good friends was teaching yoga, and she's like, you got to come take this class. And so I took like a 6-week class, and I think I was done after the first week. And I can't say now what I used to call it, right? Because I wasn't ready for it. My mind wasn't ready for it. I didn't understand that yoga is more, it's not just exercise. It's probably actually more about the mind than it is about anything else. And so you really have to understand going into some of these tools and these techniques that you have to be ready for it. And so there's a lot of work and a lot of things that you can do kind of leading up to that. But it's a long process and a long journey.
Oh yeah, and so my judgment kicked in when I first heard about it 2.5 years ago when someone suggested I do yoga for stress relief and slowing my mind down.
Yeah.
And I remember the quote was, "Not this guy."
Yeah.
And if he does, it's power yoga. And I learned that yin yoga is pretty outstanding for myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm certain we'll have a guest on this topic.
Yes, definitely.
And others. And so I think
Yep.
it would be fair to move to give a little sampling to our audience too, what we have for upcoming programming. And so my business theme and Tina's business themes, again, are different but similar. And
They
so
really are.
I have the slogan, be yourself, be curious, believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to learn about, just be yourself and the benefits to that, being curious and explore the edge of that comfort zone, and then have confidence in yourself to believe and act. And so you have also
I
3
do.
words that...
I do, and it's really interesting because we had these before we met, and you started talking about yours, and I'm like, oh, that's the same thing as my awareness. Oh, that's the same thing as my action. So where you say be yourself, I talk about awareness. So my 3 are awareness, action, and advocacy. And so awareness is just really understanding what you own in all the situations, really understanding what's going on inside you, what is it that you need. There's a lot of people out there that aren't self-aware, and once you become self-aware, you can really kind of start to dig and use some of the tools. So our be yourself and awareness, very similar concepts, we just use different names. My second one is action, and when I talk about action, it's actually using the tools. So it's really, it's I'm taking action today because I'm doing this, this, and this to be better for tomorrow. And so it's really digging in and standing in your truth, which I talked about a little bit earlier. It's every day you're walking the talk and you're doing what you need to be doing. And the last one was your believe, and which is kind of the same as my advocacy. So I believe that once you're kind of self-aware and you understand who you are and you understand what you need to work on and you're actively working on that through the action stuff, you get to this point where you want to pay back. Like, this has worked so well for me, and I feel so much better in who I am today versus who I was yesterday. I want to pay it back, and that's where the advocacy comes. And that's why we're both here today, right? It's because we want to pay it back. We want to, I want to shout on the rooftops, look, if you're unhappy, you don't have to be unhappy. This is a choice that you can make to change and turn that around. And so, again, we talk about different languages and how we're different, but yet we're the same. And so be yourself, be curious, and believe. Mine is awareness, action, and advocacy. And at the end of the day, they mean the same thing.
Yep. So here comes the chocolate and the peanut butter again, and maybe we'll come up with something
Right.
other than that. Something healthier, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So our first program, we're going to run series, and it'll be in blocks of 3 programs. And the theme of our first one is going to be self-awareness provides a sense of direction. So basically looking inward about ourselves.
Right. So when I think about looking inward, it's what do I own in each situation, right? So a lot of the times, for me, I was always looking outside for the reasons why I wasn't happy. And so if something wasn't going right at work or at home or at school or wherever it was, if it wasn't right, well, it must be your fault, or it must be this, or it must be that. And I never really came inside and looked at what I owned in that. Even if other people were wrong or other things were wrong, what did I own in that situation, and what can I do better the next time that that situation happens? So it's just kind of, it's those tools that go along with it.
And I strongly believe and encourage people I work with that it all starts in the mirror. And so you've got to
Absolutely.
you got to know yourself in order to be yourself.
Right.
And sometimes that takes a bit of self-reflection.
You can't lie to yourself in the mirror.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. And once you understand who you are yourself, you'll know what adds value and how to add value to yourself. And once you conquer that, you have the ability to add value to others. And now your ability to influence increases as a parent, as a coworker,
Right. As a leader.
someone contributing to the community and things like that. And so that's going to be our first theme, and it'll be broken into three episodes. So the first episodes on self-awareness provides a sense of direction. Will be zeroed in on open discussion between you, Tina and I, on this topic.
Yep.
Then the second episode in the block series would be tools we will share, helpful tools to you that you can utilize to kind of help with this self-reflection process.
Right, right. The tools are key, right? We can sit and talk about it all day long, but at the end of the day, you have to take the tools and you have to use them, and you have to be accountable to yourself, and that mirror will help you be accountable to yourself. I say it all the time, you can't lie to yourself in the mirror. I mean, look yourself in the mirror and try and tell yourself a lie. You just know what's happening, so.
Yeah, and what I'm very passionate about as well is the tools allow you a platform now to take ideas and turn them into action.
Right.
And so I'm all about not only learning but applying, and I love it. And then I love to teach others and help them apply. And so I think these tools will set it up nicely for that. And then the third episode to close out the series is we're going to have a guest.
Yes, we are.
So we're going to try to bring in like-minded people that can bring high value to you.
Right.
And really complement the discussions and the tools that we bring. And so
I'm really excited about the guests, right? I mean, people can sit and listen to you and I talk all day long, but when we bring in guests who have also lived and walked the talk, that's going to be fun.
So those are the series. That's the first series. The other two then subject matters that'll be involved in the three-part series is continue to learn, experience, and grow. And that's going to really circle back to this childlike mindset.
Yeah.
And be curious.
Right.
So that would be segment number 2. And then segment number 3, change cannot occur unless we change something about ourselves. And so that's the moving forward part. We get to that edge of the comfort zone, and there's all kinds of reasons to step back, and those gremlins remind you what those reasons are. But really, nothing happens. We'll stay in what we have developed for ourselves, whether we're happy about it or not, if we don't take that one step.
Right.
And so just developing the courage to take that one step, and maybe not so much focusing on, well, if I take this first step, here's all the short-term things that I don't get out of this.
Right.
Really, it's about focusing on the long-term gains, because everything's a process when you decide to change.
Absolutely.
You think about that.
Definitely. Well, and I remember when we were kids, the rock'em sock'em game, right? Where you'd hit them and they'd box and stuff like that. That's what happens in my head, and I know it happens in other people's head too. It's not just me, but that's what happens. Is you've got the gremlins, you call them, right? You've got your good gremlin and your bad gremlin, or good angel, however you want to say it. But we do a really good job of self-sabotaging ourselves, and when we don't understand what it triggers that it takes to do that, it will continue to happen. So there's ways that we can take how we can't today overcome fear and use tools to really push through those barriers so that you can really get to the other side and be confident in who you are and understand what exactly that it is that you're trying to do, and just really be the best version of who you can be.
Yeah, and again, that's where we can be helpful to you. Those self-limiting beliefs can be really discouraging and damaging to fulfilling what we think is missing on most days. And we're going to provide a platform that'll allow you to carve out time to put your feet up on the coffee table or on the desk or however you choose to view us.
Yeah.
But in your busy schedules, it's good to pause.
Right.
Take time to just stop and reflect and think. And so for 30 minutes of programming each segment, we're going to ask you to stop, tune in. We'll encourage you with different perspectives on how to do a self-evaluation, how to reduce those self-limiting beliefs, but also become the best version of you. And that is a big theme on your behalf,
Yep.
Tina.
Yep, definitely. Yeah. I think that when we start talking about self-limiting beliefs, people do them and you don't even know that you're doing them. I had them before we did the show, right? Like just because we're doing this show doesn't mean that those self-limiting beliefs stop. They're still there. Those gremlins are always, always, always there. It's learning how to control them and learning how to manage them so that they put you in a positive path versus the negative path that maybe you've always been on.
All right. Well, this concludes today's episode, and this was really, really good discussion.
This was fun, yeah. It was easier the second time around, so that's good.
Well, it's just like riding a bike and passing through that comfort zone.
Right, exactly.
And so we're looking forward to being able to add value to you so you can add value to others. Tune in next time.
Thank you.
you.